Let's step back in time to the early 2000s, when the internet was just a toddler and Ruby on Rails was a glimmer in its creator's eye. The birth of Rails marked a seismic shift in the landscape of web development. It wasn't just another framework, it was the framework that dared to be different. It made coding less about syntax and more about ideas. It was the epitome of convention over configuration. Rails 1, the progenitor of this game-changing lineage, brought to the table a slew of features that turned heads. It introduced the world to MVC architecture, dry principles, and built-in testing, among others. It was the spark that ignited an inferno of innovation. So Rails 1 set the stage, but the story was just beginning. When Rails 2 sauntered onto the scene, it wasn't just a simple update. No, it strutted in with the confidence of a peacock in a field of pigeons. Suddenly, the world of web development found itself in the midst of a paradigm shift, one that would change the game forever. Imagine, if you will, the stir when Rails 2 introduced the concept of RESTful application design. It provided a structured approach to managing data, making it easier to create, read, update, and delete information. Then came the improved routing. It was as if the city had been given a new, more efficient map, making it easier for developers to guide users through their applications. Forget about those complicated detours. Rails 2 was all about the most direct route. And let's not forget about migrations. It was a bit like having a personal assistant to manage your database schema changes. Migrations made managing these changes as easy as pie, ensuring that your database schema was always in sync with your code. These features weren't just a series of updates. They were game changers. They paved the way for a more efficient, streamlined approach to web development, influencing the industry at large. With Rails 2, the evolution was well underway, and the world of web development would never be the same again. Rails 3 didn't just continue the evolution, it redefined it. Now, isn't that a bold claim? Well, let me tell you, it's not an overstatement. The Rails 3 update was no mere facelift. It was a full-blown makeover that left the framework more powerful, more flexible, and dare I say, more attractive. One of the key changes was the shift to a new internal API. Now, if you're wondering what an API is, it's similar to a waiter in a restaurant. It takes your order, goes to the kitchen, or in this case the server, and brings back your meal or data. Rails 3 decided to hire a new waiter, and this one was more efficient, more reliable, and could handle a wider variety of orders. Then came the introduction of Bundler. If you've ever tried to manage your Ruby gems manually, you know it's about as fun as stepping on Lego. Bundler came to the rescue akin to a superhero, managing all your dependencies for you, taking care of all the tedious gem tasks. Let's not forget the emphasis on testing. Rails 3 championed the mantra of test early, test often. It encouraged developers to make testing an integral part of the development process, not just an afterthought. And let's be honest, who doesn't like a safety net? Rails 3 showed that this framework was far from finished, and indeed it was just getting started. If Rails 3 was an evolution, Rails 4 was a revolution. That's right, my friends. Rails 4 did not come to play. It brought with it a whirlwind of enhancements that left developers wide-eyed and full of admiration. Let's start with live streaming. This was a breath of fresh air, allowing developers to send responses back to the client even while the server was still processing. It was having your cake and eating it too, only with less cake and more efficient web applications. Now let's talk about caching. Rails 4 took caching to a whole new level, making it faster and more reliable. It was as if Rails was saying, why make your users wait when you can serve them speed? And we all know in the digital world, speed is king. And then there were the stronger parameters. With Rails 4, gone were the days of worrying about unwanted changes to your data. It introduced a new system for managing parameters, making applications more secure and developers more confident. But these are just a few of the many improvements that came with Rails 4. It was a game changer, shaping the way developers built web applications. Rails 4 proved that this framework wasn't just keeping up with the times, it was setting the pace. It was a revolution, and every revolution begins with a spark. With Rails 5 and 6, the modern era of web development truly began. Now, I know that might sound like a lofty statement, but let me break it down for you. Rails 5 was a game-changer, introducing features that sent ripples through the world of web development. One of the most notable additions was Action Cable, a framework for handling WebSockets in Rails. With Action Cable, developers could easily implement real-time features, such as chat rooms and notifications. It was a bit like giving web developers the keys to a shiny new sports car, and boy did they love driving it. But Rails 5 didn't stop there. It also introduced API mode. Now, this might not sound as flashy as WebSockets, but trust me, it was a big deal. API mode allowed developers to create API-only applications in Rails, making it easier to build and manage the back-end of mobile apps or client-side JavaScript apps. It was as if Rails handed web developers a toolbox filled with shiny new tools, and they couldn't wait to start using them. Then came Rails 6, and with it, the ability to handle multiple databases. This was a significant stride forward, allowing developers to distribute reads and writes to different databases and manage database-specific migrations. It was akin to giving a chef a bigger kitchen, more space to create, more flexibility, and more potential for delicious outcomes. You see, Rails 5 and 6 weren't just about adding new features, they were about responding to the evolving needs of web development, about staying ahead of the curve and ensuring that Rails remained relevant in a rapidly changing landscape. So, let's put this into perspective. Rails 5 and 6 brought real-time capabilities, made it easier to build APIs, and provided the ability to handle multiple databases. They kept Rails at the forefront of web development and proved that Rails was not just surviving, but thriving in the modern era. Rails 5 and 6 have shown that this framework is still a force to be reckoned with. And with that, we move on to the latest version. So, what is the present status of Rails? Let's delve into Rails 7. The murmurs in the tech alleys confirm that Rails 7 is a game-changer. It's a treasure that's been unearthed, causing a stir in the tech world. The bright-eyed web developers worldwide are rejoicing over the enhanced JavaScript integration, an elegant dance between Rails and JavaScript, orchestrating a harmonious symphony of web development, the kind of stuff that's making technophiles cheer. And then there's reality of strengthened encryption. In a world where privacy is as sought after as the last slice of pizza, this is nothing short of a miracle. The potential here is massive. Visualize a fortress of privacy where your data is as secure as a dragon guarding its treasure. This is setting new standards for web security, making the digital realm safer for all. So what do these exciting advancements bring to the table for web development? Well, they're to faster, more secure and more interactive web applications. It's like living in a tech utopia where efficiency and security reign supreme. But remember, these are more than just speculations, they are the present reality. The impact of Rails 7 has begun to unfold, like the final piece of a complex puzzle fitting into place. With Rails 7 now in the wild, the world of web development is more vibrant than ever. So what does all of this mean? Let's take a moment to reflect. From its humble beginnings with Rails 1, this framework has evolved into a truly revolutionary tool. It's not just about creating websites anymore, it's about shaping the way we interact with the digital world. Rails has streamlined web development, making it more accessible and efficient. Its influence is undeniable. Other web development frameworks have taken a leaf out of Rails' book, adopting its principles of convention over configuration, dry, don't repeat yourself, and RESTful architecture. It has set a new standard, pushing the industry towards more intuitive and user-friendly designs. But the impact of Rails goes beyond the tech industry. It has empowered businesses, enabling them to create dynamic and interactive web applications with ease. It has transformed ideas into realities and dreams into successful ventures. In the world of web development, Rails isn't just a framework, it's a powerhouse.